Haruto Kiju finds himself in reincarnation cursed so that he can never level up. Surprisingly, he calmly accepts this now he is part of the royal family, but very quickly he realizes there is a silver lining to the curse. His mana is impossible to exhaust. Victory seems guaranteed until an unexpected turn of events throws him into a secluded temple where an evil god lives. The evil god panics when the hero defeats the demon king whom he himself had raised. His irritation is visible as he contemplates the hero's special abilities, and despite having tried to kill the hero before, strict rules prevent gods from interfering too much in human affairs. The evil god is forced to reconsider his strategy when he realizes, due to the Demon King's swift defeat, an energy deficit has arisen. The assistant had a chart to show the sharp drop in his overall energy, but at the same time proposed a different approach. Instead of creating a hero from scratch, why not try to reincarnate one? When he asked why bring back the hero through reincarnation, she said she could place a curse on his soul and turn him into a worthless hero or something like that. The idea seemed brilliant to him. The evil god immediately agreed and joyfully declared that he would soon become a useless hero. After that, he summoned the potential hero. Haruto Kiju, a 17-year-old boy, frowned, confused by his current predicament. He asked the evil god if he was really killed the first time, forcibly reborn into a world ruled by the evil god. When the god confirmed this, Haruto inquired why he had done so. After all, if the evil god really were a god, he could have flipped Haruto without killing him. In response, God explained, negative energy, fear of death and despair is necessary for the transition. The evil god's answer filled Haruto with trembling. He finally realized that he had truly died. Yet he quickly recovered and returned to his former self. He asked about the possibility of reincarnation. He didn't care that he would receive some skills and items since he believed that the evil god's status as a deity made all of this worthwhile. When he learned that the evil god really had something to pass on to him, Haruto noticeably cheered up. He greedily inquired whether it was a special ability or a cheating skill, promising to use it properly, and the sinister smile of the evil god hinted at something else, a curse that would prevent Haruto from speaking while he smiled. Despite being terrified by the curse, Haruto accepted his fate in their world. When the evil god explained that the curse would permanently fix his status, Haruto frowned in confusion. The deity explained no matter how many monsters Haruto defeated, his status would never change, it would be forever stuck at level 1. Haruto was about to protest when the evil god suddenly initiated the reincarnation process. He threw him out before he could ask another question. When the evil god began to tremble, it became clear he had spent a considerable amount of holy energy. He did not expect that most of his dark powers would disappear. And he thought that with such effort, even the god of rebirth would not be able to interfere with his rebirth. The evil god Sam was forced to kneel during the reincarnation process, but his assistant said that now, after completion, he could stabilize and regain power. Then the evil god Sam decided to grant Haruto the third class of work according to the rules established by the creator god in the divine world. He ordered the others, if possible, to lower Haruto's work class. His assistant noted, even with a third class, Haruto still has a permanent status and will not be strong enough to defeat the Demon King. Evil gods agreed with this. It was necessary to rest briefly before dealing with the consequences. But he remembered that he still hadn't decided where Haruto would reincarnate, and that annoyed him. He explained what consequences might arise if everything remains unresolved. His assistant admitted, only the malicious god Same can perform the ritual of transformation despite god Same's own unwillingness because he wants to sleep. He ordered her to provide possible options and quickly returned with a nod. When he took the arrow, he made sure to aim exactly at the target. He said he had to make his best shot and not hit her. Raising the arrow above his head, he wondered why this ritual, although he was already exhausted. However, having set the goal like that, he believed that Haruto had a 90% chance of ending up in slavery. The evil god took an arrow and yawned, thinking, if his master wishes, Haruto will definitely become a slave. Then he released the arrow and hit the bullseye exactly, so much so that his assistant froze in amazement. The assistant could only cover his mouth in shock. His master showed such impressive accuracy that it was expected from a god. That evil god considered the board, the instrument filled with his power, and once the decision was made, there was no turning back. Glancing at the figure sleeping before him, he declared that it was the evil god who made all the decisions. He was certain that due to his unchanging status, he would not succeed in playing the role of a hero. However, everything would be fine once Haruto undergoes the process of rebirth. The only thing he retained in memory was his own identity, Haruto Kiju, 17 years old, who knew about his past life. He recalled the meeting with the evil god, although he could not understand why he was reincarnated. He knew a curse had been placed on him, but he did not understand why it wasn't, whether all the fuss was worth simply being cursed. Besides, is it true that he was reborn, already thinking about all the things Haruto can see now? It is dark, but ahead he feels something soft and warm and hears a moan coming with him. This is the world that accepts Haruto's gaze, and Tina's supple breasts ask forgivingly, is he not uncomfortable? He can only gently pronounce her name with surprise while Tina asks if she has something on her mind. Haruto recognizes this girl because for 5 years since he appeared in this world, Tina has been his personal maid, seriously taking care of him. Haruto has truly been reborn and he is still a child. Young Haruto tells Tina that he had a bad dream and the stairs hold him tightly nearby, asking if he will be calm with such an embrace. Tina adds she will always be next to Haruto, and the boy falls asleep in the world of dreams. And this is a brief memory of Tina before she became Haruto's maid. One man asked her if she was really determined not to be just a maid for a child. Tina, the teacher of Haruto, met him with a smile and said that this was the best opportunity that could have come up. The man asked why she was touching the precious stone on her chest. Tina explained she had been waiting for this moment since the day before his birth. The next day, Haruto woke up and saw that Tina was looking at him with tenderness and said that 5 years had flown by. Since it was already noon, Haruto finally looked around and shuddered upon seeing that he was in a luxurious palace. He feared that an evil god would force him to live in the yoke of servitude, and although it did not give him strength, Haruto decided to use knowledge from his past world to cope with this new life. At breakfast, he was struck by the lavish table laid out before him. Tina suggested adding mayonnaise to his salad and he literally lit up with joy when he discovered this new condiment. The servant was pleased with his compliment, put even more effort into making the dish delicious. The recipe for the dish was passed down by a hero several centuries ago. Haruto could not believe his own eyes when he saw that someone had beaten him to it. This mysterious figure caused only positive changes in the world, and Haruto felt that he would never stand out without any special abilities. Disappointment weighed heavily on him, crushing even his dreams of glory. Turning to his room, he poured out his anger, thrusting his fist into the pillow, and blamed the evil god for his misfortune. Tears streamed like a river as he lamented his own weakness, level 1, with no hope of advancement. The mere thought of magical training with Tina and his elite brothers and sisters only intensified his anxiety. Haruto wondered if there was a way out of this hopelessness and feared that even higher expectations would continue to be placed on him. When he raised his hand to check the status, the screen showed his identity as Zsoplex from Haruto, a 5-year-old person with a health blessing of 30. Both physical and magical attacks stand at 10, as the evil god said, but Haruto's state is cursed with a constant effect. Quietly reminded himself that he must not show this to the shadows while the maid called him to take a bath. And it was also visible in his stats. He is level 1 sage, an unchanging trait of his character. Having the body of a 5-year-old child, Haruto believes he has the mind of a 17-year-old, so he can only sit silently while Tina washes his back wrapped only in a towel. The maid asked if he was rubbing too hard, but Haruto's mind couldn't stop. He wondered if he and Tina had always bathed like this. It would be strange for his current body. Late in the evening, when they both get ready to go to bed, it may seem strange to his younger body. Haruto remained calm, hugging a pillow, and told Tina that from now on he would sleep alone. He allowed her not to sleep together anymore, so she wondered if she had done something wrong. In fact, it was that 17-year-old boy from Haruto's previous life who felt that Tina's presence was so tempting. The consciousness from his past life made him feel that way, but Tina could not know about this. Haruto assured her that everything was fine and just wanted to start sleeping alone. This news shocked and saddened Tina. Tears streamed down her face like rain, and she tried to convince Haruto to change his mind, offering him a chance to come to her room if he suddenly felt lonely. She said he could just tell her directly if he wanted to sleep together. At that moment, Tina looked like a sad puppy, ears pressed back, and she pleaded with Haruto warmly and from the heart. After he left the room that night, Haruto couldn't help but ask himself if he had been too harsh with her. He flopped onto the bed and memories flooded his mind. He had never left his mother's skirt until he was 5, even in his past life. Now he had a chance to do so. His mother and sister appeared before his eyes, and he wondered if everyone in his world felt the same sorrow. Eventually, he quietly spat a curse at the evil god could not forgive. The next day, Tina met him enthusiastically to start training, and Haruto breathed a sigh of relief seeing that she was as well as always. Raising his hand to ask to see her status window, he received it gladly. Service did not waste a minute. To his surprise, she was already at level 250. This threw Tina off balance. She casually asked if he was satisfied, but he stubbornly declared that he was strong. Tina revealed that she was also his guard. Without hesitation, she asked if he was ready to start training. Haruto nodded. In his thoughts, he wondered why Tina had taken on the role of his personal servant and noted, he would definitely ask later. Like most instructors, Tina started with the basics, deciding to show basic fire magic at the lowest level for today's lesson. Focusing mana in her palms, she threw her hands forward, shouting, and launched a fiery spear line. It was clear to him there was nothing basic about this. Even Haruto, who could only gape widely, agreed, and he asked if this was really the lowest level of magic. This time, these words made Tina freeze, but she snapped back. She wanted to show Haruto a good example. She just got too carried away. Brutaldo focused on the burning fragments. This was the result of Tina's technique. He suddenly became serious, stating that Tina was at the master level and worked skillfully, and that he was not just some ordinary servant of Tina. Tina embarrassedly admitted this and explained that her great-great-grandfather was a hero several generations ago. Thanks to her heroic lineage, she could level up quickly without any effort, as she did then. She asked her mentor if he was satisfied, and when he answered yes, she encouraged Haruto to continue training. Although there was something about him that didn't add up. Tina began teaching him, saying that he should try to feel the mana and see what happens. Haruto did as instructed. He felt something warm and beautiful at his fingertips. Tina praised him, saying that the warm sensation in his hands was mana, and that she was even happier because he had already learned to control it so well. Haruto scolded Tina, blaming her magic circle for everything, but Tina defended herself, saying she only helped when he asked her to gather mana. At first Haruto doubted, but still managed to confidently complete the task, stretching out his palm and felt a sharp pain when nothing happened. He gathered mana with great effort, but Tina continued to praise him, acknowledging his achievements and talent. She assured him with greater skill he would be able to try shooting magic. All he needed was to gather mana in his hands as he did last time. Haruto imitated Tina's reassuring smile, forgot about his curse for a moment. Tina told him to imagine as if he had flames in his hands. Emphasizing the importance of clear visualization for better focus, Haruto closed his eyes and repeated Tina's actions. This turned into a small flash of flame. The servant was impressed by Haruto's skill in forming the flame and hitting the target precisely. His surprise only grew when Haruto successfully fired a perfect fire bullet with fire lance on the first try. She asked if Haruto was tired, but Haruto replied that he still had strength. Tina explained that at this level, people usually run out of mana quickly, but Haruto reassured her could continue training. Tina agreed, but before doing so, she limited the shots to 3. It just turned out not to be so bad. Haruto was satisfied with the result, although earlier this evening he felt a bit uneasy. Even at level 1, it was fun for him to shoot magic. Consider yourself blessed, thought Haruto. The next day, Tina gave him a small bell. He was ordered to ring it as a warning. He felt a pang under his chest. At that very moment, the servant was supposed to go to the city for supplies. Haruto asked what would happen if he rang it. The servant only replied that he would fly to him even from afar, so Haruto immediately accepted the bell as soon as he left. After he left, he decided to continue training, remembering that he was not tired at all, despite having fired 4 shots at Lance today. Haruto was going to see how far this experiment would go and vowed to stop as soon as he felt tired. He began to accumulate mana and burn fiery spears one by one until he did not finally reach count 30. Now he was surprised why he hadn't exhausted mana at all. It was then that he finally understood, immediately opened his status and checked everything. His statistics hadn't moved. Even the number of people remained the same, 10, despite all the fire spears he had snatched with shots. Haruto was sure he had already spent mana because he thought this number hadn't decreased even a step. So they hadn't changed. He felt something was wrong, yet still wondered if he could keep the status bar open when he used his magic. When he learned that this allowed Haruto to quickly release 3 fire spears in a row, and saw that his statistics hadn't dropped at all. This was a loophole for him. This curse was given to him by an evil god. Status remainder literally meant that the maximum status value remains, but the opposite happened. The status numbers themselves didn't change and stayed the same. This meant even if Haruto used his magic, mana wouldn't be depleted. and depending on how exactly he applied it, there was a possibility to become stronger because this idea was already engraved in his mind. He sat and ran through thoughts on how to deal with the curse, considering all its complexity. Haruto wondered if he could combine quick spell casting and magic to enhance the power of the shot. But his stomach was already loudly, resonantly rumbling. This disrupted his thoughts. When he realized this, the day was already rolling toward late afternoon, and he hadn't managed to eat anything since Tina left. Although his statistics hadn't moved, he still felt hungry. And remembering Tina, he wondered if his maid was overloaded and tried to ring the bell to see if she would keep her promise. Tina suddenly rushed to him as if from nowhere, sharply pulling a strong Mary Poppins behind her. The maid's face was full of anxiety. She asked if Haruto was safe and if he was all right before inquiring why he rang the bell, and Haruto himself sat as if frozen in place from her sudden appearance. He didn't think she would come to him like that, and because of this, Haruto diverted his attention to Tina. He let her know that he was affected, so the servant panicked as soon as she realized it was already late afternoon. He ordered to quickly prepare food, and in his room Haruto smiled warmly, hesitating to admit that he needed to apologize. He was drawn to meet the evil god again, but at the same time he wanted to make Tina proud and forced himself to become stronger. Tina continued training Haruto, pushing him to the next level. A month had passed since his rebirth, and now Haruto was participating in monster hunt destruction, a tradition of the Silvuplex family. A person's love for hunting was deeply rooted in him. They both fussed, chasing after the horned rabbit, while Haruto pointed to it where to go, and Tina used her magical ice wall to catch the creature. The servant blocked the path of the horned rabbit. It glanced at Haruto. When the monster lunged at him, Tina warned him to be careful. Haruto took position, gathering mana at his fingertips, then released a sharp fiery spear that hit the creature in the head, hoping it would quickly end its suffering. The fiery spear pierced the horned rabbit. Tina approached it, praising Haruto for handling it with one shot, barely catching her breath. Haruto put everything into magic and assured he could deal with the rest of the monsters that fled. Tina praised his endurance in this situation, but when Haruto looked at the bloody carcass of the horned rabbit, a completely different feeling flashed across his face. Haruto was full of anxiety because he killed a creature that made him conscious. He is still a very small child. And we will never understand the rich and their desire to hunt. Haruto's hands tremble as he replays it all in his mind, and Tina notices how he dealt with the creature. The animal and the servant quickly approach him to comfort, trying to explain the circle of life and that the horned rabbit may be weak, but its meat is extremely tasty, so predators often hunt it. They also emphasize that this is so because the Silvuplex family is nobility entrusted with governing this territory, regularly cleansing the population and helping maintain the safety of the city's inhabitants. Then she gently takes the creature and says that the life of the horned rabbit must be valued. Haruto asks how to skin it, and she can only smile in response, but he quickly forgets about it, praising her for her strong character. They both return to the estate, where Tina begins teaching Haruto how to skin and prepare the rabbit. From this horned creature comes delicious food. Tina prepares it for her grateful master, Haruto. Tears fill Tina's eyes as she looks at him tenderly and thinks about how Haruto will become a great mage because he knows how to value life and not hide from reality. Moreover, there is another reason why she believes this will happen. She saw with her own eyes how his fiery spear pierced through the magical ice wall that he had thrown earlier, and it was quite strange. In addition, she recalls how he secretly increased the power of the target he used every morning to practice magic, because if he hadn't done that, the target wouldn't have withstood Haruto's attacks. All this is taken into account magic too. Tina thinks that Haruto is getting stronger each time, although his stats do not change. So the servant begins to wonder if his master is a reincarnation. But Tina quickly brushes off this thought. It's still too early to say for sure if it really is him. The servant believes he can tell her something about it. And in the end, she is in no hurry to find out the answer. After all, she waited 100 years for him. Let's move forward 5 years. Haruto enters the Magic Academy and finds himself right in front of the institution when suddenly a voice orders the newcomers to gather in the lecture hall. But the voice is immediately torn away, interrupted by an even louder one. The student tells his classmates to watch where he is heading. The girl who accidentally bumped into the boy, apologizing, still finds herself surrounded by bigger boys. One of them, a confused student with glasses, asks if she even understands that the boy she bumped into is the son of Baron Zordi, as evidenced by the 2 white lines on the collar that show his noble status. And he also wonders, do troublemakers have to look ugly in every story? And when she realizes again what is happening, the girl begins to panic and tears are already welling up in her eyes. Not knowing what to do, she has no idea that behind the scene 2 other students are watching. One boy asks the other if the girl really bumped into them. The other replies and says that actually the boy in the middle pushed her and dominated the poor girl just because they are aristocrats. The eyebrows of this boy furrow. He is thinking over how those kids bullied the poor girl. He is already planning how to fight back even if they are nobles. Suddenly another boy grabbed him by the shoulder and stopped him as he was passing by, saying he was about to do something. Instead, the first boy called him an idiot and ordered him to stop. When he suddenly realized that this boy had 3 white lines on his collar, it became clear he was from a noble family. Yes, and this was our hero Haruto. He burst onto the scene like a knight in armor. The boy stood between the girl and the group of men who ordered them to stop. One of them sharply turned to Haruto and asked angrily if he knew who he was dealing with. But our boy did not flinch until the boy who looked like a rat said, "Let them go away because the person they are talking to is the son of a count." Haruto told them there would be no problem if they retreated now because he did not want the situation to get worse. Fortunately, the boys did as they were told. So Haruto turned his gaze to the girl and asked if she was okay. She replied that she was just unlucky and that not all nobles were like that. And she quickly believed him and sincerely thanked Haruto for that. Now she was saved by the fact that he got her out of that situation. The girl told him that she was scared because she feared being scolded when she was surrounded like that. Suddenly, the same boy appeared again and apologized to Haruto for his rude behavior. Only then did she realize that he was the son of a nobleman who had heard Haruto jokingly ask if he considered himself unnecessary, and when Haruto called the nobleman, like himself, an idiot. This made the other boy bow and apologize even more earnestly. But Haruto told him that our hero did not care if he pointed that out with his actions, so the boy, smiling, asked what Haruto meant. Haruto told him that they should surprise each other as friends, so he began teasing, saying that if he did not agree, he would tell his father how he called him an idiot earlier. The boy on the other side got scared and started begging Haruto not to blackmail him after he himself said he wanted to be friends. He could only laugh and say it was okay, after all they were friends. In the end, the boy gave up and Haruto extended his hand, and then the friend finally introduced himself. Rook. The girl who had been quietly watching their conversations all this time shyly asked if she could be friends with them too. They made an agreement, introduced themselves, and called Rook their friend. Because of this, others began to ask her why she was the one introducing them. But the girl did not object and introduced herself Luna. Eventually, the trio firmly held on to her. They hold hands, a sharp transition. The initiation ceremony just ended and the 3 had just discussed how tomorrow they would announce the class lists, switching to new friends. Haruto asked if they wanted to visit his home, and Rukgaga remembered that nobles do not live in dormitories, they have their own houses on the school grounds. Luna blushed at this thought and said they needed to go, holding a map in their hands. The 3 set off and Haruto guided them through the map. Rook turned to him and said they were about to arrive in his mind. Haruto had no idea where that was, as it seemed he could not find it until suddenly Rook asked if this was the very house he meant, pointing to a large building right in front of them. Even Haruto could not believe it was too big, but he had to leave it all to his father. Meanwhile, Rook and Luna admired it from where they stood. Luna asked if the estate also had servants. Of course, she expected that her friend came from the Count's family. Suddenly the door opened and Tina came out to meet Haruto. When she asked who the 2 people behind him were, Haruto introduced them as his new friends. Tina smiled happily and greeted her master. Haruto could not hide his expression when he told Tina that he also wanted to eat with them at the estate. Tina told him she would start preparing the food and urged them to relax in the living room while they waited. The 3 students talked about classes, and then Luna told the 2 boys that she hoped they could all get into the same class. Rook thought the same. He also wanted them to be together because he believed many subjects would be better if they were all grouped together, not knowing that Tina overheard their conversation. The next day, everyone was surprised when it turned out they really were in the same class. Luna was happy and Rook asked Haruto if his father noticed. Haruto denied it. He had not told his parents anything. So they all went to their class when Haruto asked if each class had its own special room, and Rook praised that the room for newcomers looked really impressive. They all entered, and very soon after entering, one student greeted them and said their lesson was already over. In the end, it was over. They had arrived. The student who greeted them was named Lifa. She said she looked forward to working with them, and another girl named Melody added. They also had classmates who were siblings Ryushin and his sister Ryuka. Another girl in a kimono introduced herself Yuko. Haruto stared at Yuko, wondering if he was the only one who saw this girl's story. Her last classmates are twin girls named Mai and Mei. Haruto and his gang also introduced themselves, and she cautiously asked him if he was a count. Haruto said he preferred to be called by his own name, not count, and asked her and the others not to worry about formalities. This greatly amused Liafa. Yuko asked Haruto if his friends also received special treatment this time. When he joined the class, Haruto admitted his father seemed to have used his connections, although he never told his parents anything that could jeopardize the subject. Ryushin loudly asked why their class was the only one without an assigned teacher, not knowing that their instructor would enter the room just as his sister told him. Other classes already have teachers. Suddenly the classroom door opened and Haruto exclaimed Tina's name in surprise, seeing his assistant enter. Tina immediately went to the teacher's desk and told Haruto. Let him address her as Tina-sensei without unnecessary delay. Tina introduced herself as Tina Garable and she would be leading their class. A maid turned instructor. Tina was like Barbie, she could be anyone. Hearing the name Tina Horrible, Yuko wondered if she was the same heroic figure who led the hero in killing demons 100 years ago. Tina casually admitted, yes, that's her, the one who received surprises from her students. Haruto couldn't wrap his head around it. She really was a heroic figure. It made little sense, at least now it was clear why her level was so high, not only because she was a descendant of a hero, but one question still lingered. He finally addressed Tina and asked how old she was. Again Tina corrected Haruto. He must call her sensei, and asking a woman her age is considered rude. Haruto was embarrassed and quickly apologized. Lifa's hand suddenly shot up sharply into the air. The young student asked Sensei if she was really Tina Horrible, because Tina Horrible was a legendary figure even among elves. But the trouble was that Tina Horrible disappeared after killing the Demon King together with the heroes without explaining anything to them. Tina had just decided to show them her status board because it was faster to earn income that way. The class froze when they saw she was already at level 250, an incredible status level. On the other hand, Luna was impressed. Tina, who cooked them delicious food yesterday, turned out to be quite strong. Yuko also joined the conversation. She asked her sensei if she could address her with one question. Tina-sensei gave her the green light, so Yuko immediately asked why someone of her high level would become their teacher. Tina-sensei replied that she did it to one day kill a person, and most of the class froze in confusion and bewilderment. The teacher began to explain. Besides being their instructor, she was also a servant of Haruto guarding something. Luna already knew about this when they came yesterday. Then she told them she came here to the school to protect him. Although the young master usually is in class and just wanders near the plantation, he has enough free time. So he decided to become an instructor as soon as he came across a recruitment brochure for teachers in this area. As Tina explained, Haruto noticed that she raised her index finger, a gesture she often uses when trying to hide something. Haruto stared at her, trying to understand what exactly Tina was hiding. In the next scene, Luna was shocked to learn that fights happen in every class. The teacher emphasized that this occurs once a month. Tina-sensei also mentioned a nearby shop with cake and pancakes and free access to the school's largest library. Forte was delighted, although he expected exactly this from the Tina-sensei Academy. Tina-sensei explained that due to their location, many classes can sign up to compete with them, so she advised them to just have fun and give their best to maintain their class level. Forte raised his hand and asked if in case of several contenders, priority would be given to stronger classes. Tina-sensei confirmed, saying that they always have to face freshmen. Because of this, Ryuki's expression twisted. Likewise, Lifa shared this concern when she asked how hard it is to maintain their class level if newcomers compete with the top. Tina-sensei calmly assured them she believes that every student in this class has the potential to become strong. Under her guidance, she was confident everything would turn out well. Haruto, who was silently listening, could not help but wonder where Tina gets such confidence. Tina's determination to move forward disrupted the conversation and turned it to another side. She encouraged everyone to share their magical abilities. She had prepared a targeting exercise in advance and urged everyone to show the full power of their magic. Haruto realized that this was the same training they had been doing since he was much younger. Ryushin stared at his teacher and asked if he was allowed to use all his power. Tina gave him permission and turned to the whole class. She explained that from now on they would all compete in this match and that the first step to camaraderie among participants is understanding each other's limits. Encouraged by Tina, Lifa volunteered to be the first to demonstrate her magical abilities. Without wasting a moment, Lifa gathered mana in her palms and wove a bow and arrow from the air. She put all her strength into it before releasing a powerful shot called Wind Arrow. They found Legola's Haruto, a female archer who truly impressed with how she hit the target using only wind magic, although hitting was extremely difficult. Tina talks about Tina. He praises Lee for her incredible performance, and this time the twins Mai and Mai voluntarily go next. Tina gives them permission and they both look at each other, chanting the spell just at the moment when Haruto asks if they say it together. Their teacher confirms, explaining. Twins' magic is really very unique. Their hands hold each other's fire. And the power of water envelops the twins' bodies as they shout the name of their technique Union Ray. Tina-sensei praises them both, saying how wonderful it is to combine magic of opposite attributes, and the fortress finally understands why this could have happened at all, and are synchronized ones down to the smallest details. Next, we voluntarily go on the offensive, so Tina orders her to hold forward, grabs her right hand and shouts Dragon Morph. From this her hand changes drastically, and they all look at this transformation in surprise. While Tina-sensei calmly explains that Ryushin can change parts of the body to fight, Ryushin rushed to the target and slashed it, shouting Dragon Claw. While Tina continues to say that she is a magical warrior of the dragon lineage, she looked at him intently with envy. She whispered that she also wanted to skillfully grab and take out the target the same way. Ruck calmed her. Ryuka's success was due to everyone else. His technique was only the final blow. When Ryuka saw the damaged target, she pointed it out to Tina. Tina said that Ryuka can take materials from her own imagination, so now the target will belong to Ryuka. Then she showed skill by activating the ability Dragon Morph Resurrection. Placing her hands on the target, Ryuka stunned Luna by sealing it with magic. Luna asked if this was dragon recovery magic and she managed to notice it, so he and Ryuka rejoiced. Tina explained, Ryuka's resurrection magic could restore objects with magical power to their original state. Haruto calmly laid everything out, thinking about people and supernatural beings. He knew, life force in the body lasts about a day after death. Although resurrection usually could be done no more than an hour after, he was stunned to learn that Ryuka could revive someone who died within the past day. Watching the power of his classmate, Haruto finally understood why Tina was so confident in her class. He realized that he belonged to a group of strong people. Despite the fact that she is still level 1 due to the curse of the evil god. This painful memory of his reborn life made him clutch his head with his hands. He suddenly realized that he hadn't told Tina about it. When he was sad, Yuko just silently looked at him, frowning. And Tina turned back to the class and said that her target had already asked who wanted to go next. This time Melody stepped forward and Luna asked if she could magically support her former ally, and Melody replied that she could. Suddenly Luna's character completely changed. She began to strengthen Melody. She raised her maximum magical power, brought her magical attack to the maximum, increased physical strength, boosted speed, and sharpened enhanced concentration. Even Melody was surprised by all these level increases, but it took her a moment to feel a wave of power. She declared that she was receiving something extraordinary for the first time, confirming her words with this. Melody immediately attacked the training target, flying with an aerial strike. The target flew to the opposite wall, and in the end, like in a fairy tale, Rook muttered that his target had only disappeared temporarily, and Ryushin admitted defeat, but all Melody could think about was that she had gone a bit too far with the sharpness. Meanwhile, Sissy Tina kept praising how Luna and Melody were a perfect pair. No one noticed how Yuko quietly slipped out of the classroom. Tina-sensei glanced back into the class. Scanning the rest of the students, he looked for who would go next after the previous 8 had shown impressive magic. Inside Haruto, something stirred, and he wondered why cheat at all if it could be avoided. Just as he was about to volunteer, Rook interrupted him, confidently raised his hand and offered to go next. Rook assured Haruto that he would give him a break later. He knew that Tina personally taught him and believed in the strength of his friend. Haruto froze in place, feeling the weight of his status level 1 pressing on him more sharply than ever. Tina-sensei gave her approval, allowing Rook to continue. With a simple signal, shapes and symbols appeared in the air. Ghostly light spread from under Rook's feet. He raised his hand above his head and thunder rumbled above them. Casting a spell, he stretched out his hand toward the target and shouted Ultima Thunder, while others were amplifying their own energies. Suddenly, a mighty lightning struck the target and nothing was left of it, only a charred hole in the ground. Lifa turned to Tina-sensei, confirming Rook's magic had truly reached the peak, just as Tina had said. Tina explained that Rook's full name was Rookville Ifris, and he was the grandson of President Ruano, the respected leader of Ifulus Magic School. Like his grandfather, he had the rare ability to master one of the most powerful magics. After that, Tina shifted her gaze to Gerudo, the only student who was still frozen in place. She wanted to see how he would act next after witnessing Rook's stunning performance. Suddenly, Tina told Haruto that he should use only 30% of his power. Haruto was surprised not by the suggestion itself, but by Tina's insistence. She looked very serious, almost begging to use only 30%, otherwise the training center would simply ignore them. Reishin, the teacher, recalled how Tina-sensei pushed them to give their all, and this made him doubt whether Haruto's magic was inferior. Although the fortress claimed that even the highest magic was allowed here, Tina's intervention hinted that her power was significantly higher. Despite this, Haruto felt the weight of their assumptions. He composed himself, preparing for Tina's strategy to set a low bar for him. Haruto decided to use minimal magic because he believed Tina wanted not to be the weakest in the class. He set out to impress his partner by quickly breaking the target. Haruto assured Tina that he understood her expectations and said that he could not significantly change anything he promised to exert about 30 effort. Tina agreed to strengthen the protective magic, but Haruto refused, not wanting to nullify her efforts. He gathered mana in his hand, thinking that his maximum power was 10, and that he could only spend weak levels of magical energy up to 10, so he layered it. But after about 5 seconds, he was able to create magical power equivalent to 100,000 and transform it into a fire attribute, exactly what Haruto understood. Curse state did not change, no matter how much he used. Haruto was so absorbed in the technique that he did not hear Tina anxiously reminding him he needed to use only 30. He just smiled boldly at her and even felt how well his role was going right now. He deserved it, so he returned to his technique. Haruto thought if you want a striking appearance, you need to make something explode, so he decided to add dark magic of explosion and thunder about 1,000 steps more at the end. As soon as he was ready, he released it with all his might, shouting at Lance as he started his technique. Tina warned him one last time to stop. Meanwhile, somewhere in the Yuko Academy, she was pacing back and forth, talking to herself about not expecting to meet a hero here. Now she was in one of the special classrooms checking the thermos and wondering if there was anything inside that could be used. As soon as he turned around like a deaf person, a deafening explosion pierced him to the bone. He rushed back into the classroom in their class, confused by the general shock. Tina stood among the debris. Her clothes were burned and disheveled, and this made him shudder because burns were visible on her body. Haruto called to her and she came over apologizing, and he instinctively stepped back, feeling her anger. Tears streamed down her face like a river as she scolded him, and he realized she had warned him to use only 30 of her power. She complained that she had completely failed to repel the attack, emphasizing the possible destruction to the central district. Haruto tried to explain the difference between home and Magic Academy, but Tina cut him off mid-sentence and stressed that maintaining her magic outside was too difficult. Releasing her irritation, she heard questions from classmates, whether her actions were safe and if her barriers really worked. Lifa expressed disbelief that level 250, like Tina-sensei, could not withstand the magic. Melody was amazed by her colossal power, and Luna asked why Haruto did not have supportive magic. Tina sharply dismissed the class, promising to sort out the situation, and ordered them to return to their dormitories. She asked Haruto to stay, and he was already expecting that. Tina and Haruto returned to the main building as planned. Haruto quietly apologized once again, reminding Tina of his repeated warnings not to use all her strength. He gloomily lowered his shoulders, admitting it, but what happened next suddenly overwhelmed our hero. Tina trembled and froze in her gaze, confessing that seconds ago she thought, this is the end for her. Haruto was shocked when Tina showed him the remains of something, the only thing that could have saved her from death. It was a pendant with a stone that Tina always wore. It made Haruto ask if it was a magical tool. Tina, already in tears, explained that if her life was in danger, protective magic would work, but no more than unseen someone had given it to her. Haruto, feeling all this, felt deep remorse and began to sincerely apologize, promising to do everything she asked Evan if he did not fully understand what exactly that meant. Tina, hearing his words, asked if he was sure, and Haruto answered sternly and assured her, ordering her to stop crying. Then he asked if she would agree to sleep with him again just like before, repeating her promise to do anything. Tina agreed quickly but still clarified if she was really comfortable. In a desperate plea, she asked Haruto if she could hug him. This simple plea left Haruto stunned, but he let her do it, didn't care. For Tina, it meant a lot, so she thanked him, wiped her tears, and immediately threw herself into his arms. He spread his arms to hug her and she froze again in surprise. She had no idea that now she wanted to hug him. Tina cried again, showing how scared she was. After repeated apologies, Haruto finally patted her on the head and tried to calm her with a simple gesture. This made Tina smile happily when he told her that her body had been restored even before she managed to change her demand. Tina said that her request is valid forever, not just for this night, and Haruto replied that since then they will sleep together once more. That night, when they were already about to take off even the minimum amount of clothing for sleep, Haruto asked why she chose to be a maid, but if it were him, he would ask Tina why she put on minimal sleepwear instead of answering his question directly. Tina said that if they start discussing it, Haruto will fall asleep late at night, so she asked if he was okay with that. Haruto smiled gently at her, said he agreed, and that this time he wanted to hear her story. Haruto asked again why she became a maid, and not letting go of her hand, pressed for an explanation. As she said, the matter was that, in his opinion, it would not be surprising if she worked for the country, especially with her abilities. Her father was a wealthy and powerful man, but that was not enough to hire Tina, and apparently during this period, she even declined invitations from the country. Without heroes from that world, the country could do nothing, not even against its will, because it had power equal to that of the heroes. Tina began her story long ago when she left with the heroes brought from another world because they had killed the demon king among the heroes. There was one whom she truly respected, but she was not even the most important in their group yet. And every time this person heard about the monster that destroyed the village and town, they became a hero, the one who relentlessly tore forward as their heart told them. He was the only person who gave them the courage to stand against the horde of monster sand. Now Tina repeatedly recalled many memories with him, remembering how he called her. She told Haruto that this man did not defeat the Demon King, but to her he was a true hero, and she often spent time with him. While Tina showed various images that surfaced in Haruto's mind, memories from the past about different people, even a woman resembling Tina told him one thing. He was in pain. This sudden barrage of images gave Haruto a sharp pain in his temples, and while Tina continued her story, honestly admitting, one time she caught herself thinking that she was falling in love with him. And according to the rules of this world, the heroes were soon to be sent back to their native world as soon as they defeated the Demon King. One of these rules made Tina think that people like her would not care about her. And suddenly Tina said that the man responded to her desiring. This time, a figure resembling Tina with outstretched arms surfaced again in Haruto's mind, making him wonder what it was. Holding his head, he asked Tina if she had fallen in love with that person, but she quickly dismissed it, explaining that their relationship had not progressed further. After that, Haruto could only smile shyly and think how sorry he felt for her, since she had no experience in such matters, yet deep down he was still somewhat glad. Tina continued her story and said that those wonderful moments finally ended as soon as their friends reached the goal and killed the Demon King, which made Haruto ask if the heroes were not given a choice to leave this world or stay. He emphasized these heroes did everything they could to stay with Tina, but it seemed they would fail. Otherwise, they would have succeeded. Haruto remembered that he was a descendant of a hero and wondered. Maybe his great-grandfather also left his family and returned to the original world. Tina answered yes, because the logic of this world worked exactly like that when she wanted to ask something. Tina stepped forward and told him that the stone pendant was part of the magical protection. The hero handed him the stone. One day he felt as if a similar magic just like his had just entered this world. And he feared that her reincarnation would pose a threat to the hero. Tina surprised him by acknowledging, as it seemed to him, his magical abilities even before Haruto could finish apologizing. She revealed that it was she who had been reincarnated, just not as a hero. Haruto could only respond quietly. How does she know what he does not have, since he does not have memories like hers? When Tina approached Karis's face, he looked at her with deep sorrow, pondering why he alone was not resurrected. He admitted that every day he diligently watched Haruto and marveled at his boundless energy during training. Gradually, the hero's image began to merge with his own, before Tina could utter hope regarding his transformation. Haruto pressed her against himself, his cheeks flushed with a blush. Having asked if she agreed, Tina nodded happily and agreed. She was delighted by how Haruto promised to become stronger than the hero to protect her and their world. He asked if she would stay by his side, to which Tina joyfully replied yes and declared that she would stay with him forever. After a breath of fresh air, Haruto set himself the goal in this world to surpass the hero who defeated the Demon King. To become even more powerful and protect Tina and their world, he mirrored the love he felt for her. In their relationship, everything changed overnight from 0 to 100. The next morning, Tina returned to her duties as an assistant. She opened the curtains and greeted him. While Haruto was beginning to wake up, she informed him that breakfast was already ready. Tina asked his permission while Haruto sat quietly. Tina kissed him and Haruto felt cursed. He thought he wouldn't be able to level up, yet he still decided to gain strength and earn recognition like a wise person. Looking at Tina, who asked for protection, Haruto could only smile gently at her. I intend to become the strongest level 1 sage and her hero. While they were returning to the training center, Haruto thought about that awkward night incident and decided to come to class early. He asked one of the guards if the training ground had been repaired, and he confirmed everything was done at night by skilled dwarves. Tina reminded Haruto that they live in a magical world, so quick repairs were not surprising. After that, she went to a staff meeting, and Haruto casually headed to the classroom. He was impressed by the quick and skillful repairs. So since Tina shared her story with him, he feels sincere gratitude for solving many problems. Moreover, he already figured out, as soon as he gets to the classroom, he can use magic from any attribute. Haruto is firmly convinced that he will find a way to make his way through the influence of the nobility and his low level. He decided to use any resources he has. Despite the power of his family, he has 2 important goals. Suddenly, a voice interrupts his thoughts, praising his incredible magic from the previous day. Haruto turns around and sees Yuko sitting behind him. He asks in surprise how long she has been there. Yuko replies she had enough time. When Haruto enters the classroom, he recalls Tina's words about 8 people who prompted her to ask Yuko if she had been at the training ground. Haruto is sure they could not have seen Yuko's magic. Yuko approaches him, touches her lips with a finger, and says that she has seen his magic before. Haruto understands he trained his magic even when no one was watching, so he made himself less noticeable. He asks Yuko if that is why he weakened his presence and thinned his own existence. Yuko explains this is a high-level technique. It not only makes it harder for others to notice him, but also provides protection from physical harm. Haruto froze for a moment, considering how rare his magic was, then asked if the magic left in the tail behind his back was a different type of magic. This made Yuko raise her eyebrows in surprise, and anxiety froze on her face. Quickly gathering his thoughts, he said that he might be able to see it. Tails Haruto said he noticed it since yesterday, although his phrase was cut off and then it became clear when he failed to finish speaking. She shuddered all over. Yuko could not believe he saw his tail. When he told her that maybe he had no choice and would have to remove it, she suddenly became hostile and glared fiercely at him. Haruto tensed for some reason. At that moment he looked dangerous. But he simply decided to tell her to leave without calling them friends. Yo's attitude changed sharply. He thought she couldn't defeat him because he was abnormal, and Haruto tried his best to get her attention. As a last chance, he told her he wouldn't tell anyone if she didn't want anyone to find out, and Yuko looked at him with an unreadable expression. She only replied that she simply had no other choice. And before she could do anything, Yuko suddenly appeared in front of him, grabbed his right hand and kissed it. It was very unexpected for him. The symbol's flash burned on his hand as soon as she said he had just made a contract. Haruto's face flared with panic as soon as he realized how recklessly he had acted. When his power wildly burst out, he thought, if he uses so much magic, he won't be able to handle it and fight. Quickly, he pushed it away and said that he would no longer be able to move freely, but Yuko proved that he was wrong. She told him that he probably mixed everything up because the opposite happened, not what was in the main servant contract he had signed earlier. It stated that he would serve her. Now she was the one under his protection after her secret came to light. Yuko revealed more about herself than he knew. The nine-tailed fox, a demon that grows by gathering magical power in its tails. Moreover, she could transform into humans. The most terrible thing about the nine-tails was that when they reached adulthood, they were blamed for natural disasters. Yuko said she came to the academy to effectively increase her magical power, and since she could also subjugate the will of others, she decided to accumulate strength to a certain limit. Having reached it, she intended to rule everyone at the academy and create her own headquarters. Haruto struck her on the head with a karate chop and Yuko began rubbing her own head, wondering what he was doing. She inquired about the speech and stood beside him, saying, "Taking control of the school is only the beginning," along with the new spirit and the fresh bump on his head. Yuko expressed the conviction that one day the whole world would be under his rule, and since she was under his rule, she invited Haruto to join her on a journey to world domination, striking him with a karate chop once again. This time Yuko could not hold back and shouted, "Why are you doing this again?" But Haruto remained steadfast and urged her to abandon these crazy ideas. He asked why she did not seek complete domination when she had such power, but suggested, if she worked with him, there was a chance someday she could rule the world. This made Garudo pause for a moment to think about his own troubles, especially after the evil god summoned him. He wanted to be invincible in this world until he was cursed. Yuko's words might have influenced him before, but now everything was different. Clenching his fist, Haruto told Yuko that he had no intention of conquering the world and that he was not a demon king. Instead, he dreamed of becoming a hero. Yuko's expression darkened as she glanced at him once more through anger and demanded to know exactly what he had just said. She became hostile again, questioning whether he really wanted to be a hero. Suddenly, she approached him and asked if that was how he saw her, and if he intended to use the magical power hidden in her before he could answer. Yuko told him that a nine-tailed fox like her was considered a natural disaster. This time she asked if that was exactly why she had kept silent about her stories before Tina-sensei. These sudden waves of negative emotions shattered Yo. Her head started to hurt, and her eyes moistened when Haruto tried to approach her. Her headache grew so intense that it seemed her head would split open, and then suddenly a picture flashed into her mind, a memory. It was a small, nine-tailed fox cub sneaking up on two people. One of them thought it was just an ordinary fox cub, but the other said it was actually a nine-tailed fox. The little creature ran away as soon as it heard the people say, "A nine-tailed fox can be sold for a high price," and it pushed the other to catch it. Fear engulfed Yuko as soon as a pair of hands grabbed her chain and pinned her to the next memory. As soon as she was caught, another nine-tailed fox appeared. She screamed how fiercely she hated people, especially heroes. This other fox was her mother, but before she could warn the elder creature, a massacre broke out so severe that after the mother returned to the present, she could only scream. Yuko felt a little relieved when she told him that heroes use their abilities to exterminate nine-tailed foxes. This time he got even angrier as soon as they appeared and shouted at Haruto, saying that heroes, when they were younger, honed their craft properly. She saw how devastated and upset he was, and she instinctively reached out to calm him, stroked his head, and assured him that she understood. Yuko shuddered when Haruto reminded her of the promise to keep their conversation secret except from him. He assured her that he had no intention of abusing his powers. When Yuko asked about his plans regarding the contract he had just signed, he immediately waved it off, saying it was pointless. Yuko could not believe that he called the binding contract unnecessary and insisted that he would not be able to harm her despite the agreement, especially since they were classmates. However, Yuko explained, to be under the protection of someone higher in status like Haruto, he needs to establish a connection with him through the magical power of one of his talismans. Because of the strong bond that arises, he will not be able to break it. Then Haruto asked if it was he who broke that bond. Here was the main crux of the problem. Yuko admitted that attempting to break the contract would lead to severe consequences, so she advised against doing it. Haruto's realization that the contract was not only one-sided but also dangerous for the end of Yo became even more ingrained in his memory when he recalled the terms. He must obey Haruto's orders for the sake of life. Walking gloomily, he vowed to give his all to fulfill the agreement. But his sudden change of attitude again made Haruto reach out and stroke her head, and Yuko screamed with joy. Although it all happened involuntarily, Haruto just smiled and said that for some reason he really wanted to stroke her again in his mind. While he stroked Yuko's head, his desire to protect her only grew. Rock approached them in the morning, but stopped when he asked Haruto what was going on. Yuko curled up on Haruto's lap and kissed him. While Gulk asked if they were always this close, Haruto agreed and did not explain anything, simply pushed Yuko back to her place because everyone would arrive soon. He told her that he had nothing against her returning, but the warm and indistinct feeling he got when he stroked her head made everything easier, and now his lord had given him instructions. Yuko said she would return to her place the same way. Haruto had an obedient demon pet who could turn into a natural disaster in the future. Tina and Haruto were walking back to class when the girl began to express certain concerns. But before she could finish speaking, Haruto simply asked her if she had also noticed the presence that was always behind her. Tina emphasized the word before speaking loudly, inviting Yuko to hang out together. Suddenly, Yuko appeared above Haruto's head. While he admired Tina's abilities, it did not shock him considering how she seemed to know where Yuko was, even though there was no connection between them. Tina accepted the praise but still couldn't help asking why Yuko was following them and causing a fuss. Haruto intervened and began explaining the terms of the contract he had already mentioned. As soon as Tina heard the details, she activated her powers and appeared before Yuko, asking if she was the demon possessing her. Such an unexpected reaction made both Haruto and Yuko pale and become wary of Tina's behavior, initially irritated because she thought Yuko was acting strangely around them. Then Tina activated her mana, gathering Abolithi's circle of spells flared above her head, and the people panicked. Yuko assured Haruto that she would do as he said, and he promised to restrain Yuko's actions so that no one would get hurt. Tina recognized Haruto that the only reason she felt obliged to protect Yuko was their contractual agreement. Under the overwhelming burden of Tina's power, Yuko sought refuge with her master as advised by the maid. She stated that she was ready to defeat the demon for the safety of everyone. Haruto intervened and urged Tina to stay calm as soon as he showed his contract seal, but Yuko did not have one, so the contract's influence did not affect her. Maturation turned out to be unexpected for both women, but Haruto, after confirming his status, still remained cursed and concluded that the contract had no power over him. Yuko's meeting with Haruto deeply affected him, and he couldn't help but think she was incredibly sweet, so he wanted to protect her. But Tina stubbornly resisted and was not going to retreat. In a desperate attempt, Haruto ordered Yuko to stand up and perform a simple action. Tanya hoped to show Tina that he had no evil intentions. To his surprise, Yuko carried out his order without a shadow of hesitation, and Tina lowered her hand. As soon as Yuko turned around and finished the task, Tina looked at the other girl and commented on how Yuko knows how to attack or manipulate people. Haruto pulled Yuko closer and reminded her that she was forbidden to harm anyone without his permission. Yuko completely agreed and promised to stay close to Tina, guaranteeing her safety. But still, Tina did not let go of doubts about Haruto's virtues and the risks that Yuko's presence might bring. However, Haruto calmed her and shifted her attention. Tina didn't even suspect Yuko secretly planned something, and her cunning nature was already showing. When he remembers her, he also remembers that Tina is Haruto's assistant, which means her employer is Haruto's father. And he cannot go against him, knowing Yuko's plan to seduce Haruto when night falls today. Tina enters Haruto's room in revealing clothes and asks why Yuko is lying in his bed. Haruto doesn't ask why Tina dressed like that, not because anyone needs to complain. He simply says it's the safest place and wonders why Tina ended up here too. Yuko directly asks Tina if she intends to sleep with Haruto, and Tina provocatively replies, "Isn't it allowed?" Yuko remains furious when she reveals that he is her homeroom teacher. Tina argues that's not enough reason not to sleep with Haruto. To calm Tina, Haruto invites her to lie down with him in bed, and she obeys, accidentally brushing her breast against his hand. Yuko notices and feels his self-esteem dropping because he is weak in this area, but before he can get stuck in a loop, Haruto orders him to go to sleep as well. The next morning, Tina wakes up first and is surprised at how they are positioned. Haruto is sound asleep with Yuko in her fox form lying right on top of him. Tina quietly smiles. It's hard to be angry. She gets up and starts performing her maid duties, already in maid mode. Tina was busy with eggs for breakfast, whisking them when Yuko entered the room and asked what she was doing. The fox girl shyly said it smelled incredible while Tina finished the rolled omelets and offered Yuko to try some. Yuko took a sip, and she couldn't resist and was surprised at how delicious it was. She said it was the best thing she had ever tasted. Tina admitted it was Haruto's favorite dish, and the words immediately caught Yuko's attention. Tina then offered to teach Yuko how to make baked roll omelets, and this sparked excitement among the others. Everyone also wanted to learn. Yuko gladly agreed, exclaiming that she wanted to study with Tina. Tina also offered to teach Yuko other household chores because she would be under Haruto's care. The girls arrived at work and Yuko found out making omelet rolls turned out to be more difficult than she thought. Tina patiently showed her how to remove pieces of shell from the mixture and how to properly roll the eggs. Tina successfully completed the task. She fried and rolled the eggs, simultaneously guiding Yuko through the process of dividing the mixture into 3 parts. Tina decided to talk about the tools she uses. She showed how copper is used to make metal and how it conducts heat wonderfully, making it perfect for fluffy omelets. But Yuko couldn't process all this information. She was completely focused on finishing the rolled omelet. The rolled omelet from the fox girl did not meet Tina's standards, but they were both proud that Yuko managed to make it. She quickly bit into her work and enjoyed how the juice flowed out and how the flavor spread in her mouth. Yuko couldn't believe how much the taste of food changes if you add amber liquid, and Tina promised that next time she would teach her how to make dashi. Following Tina's advice, Yuko joyfully held the plate with the omelet above her head and was delighted. Now she could eat it whenever she wanted. However, the waiter reminded her to pay more attention to the egg supplies. He was holding a bowl of empty shells from that morning. Yuko was already busy showing her dish to Haruto, hoping to get praise for her work. Remembering Haruto, Yuko asked Tina if he was still sleeping. And Tina replied that he should have finished his morning run long ago if her intuition was correct. Most likely, Haruto was training in the yard. Just like the first time when he asked Tina to train with him, he didn't stop while two women watched him from the window. Yuko wondered if this was his usual routine, and Tina confirmed, saying she had been training diligently since she was 5 years old. She explained that every night they have to rebuild protective spells because of Haruto, and because of this, a strong barrier grew around Orchard. While recounting a memory of how young Haruto mixed magic, Yuko praised him for his incredible diligence. Tina agreed, confessing her love for him. Fox Girl inadvertently hinted that she was beginning to lean more and more towards Haruto. Then the conversation shifted to morning greetings. Yuko excitedly told that she managed to roll an omelet into a roulade. Tina admitted that she taught Yuko how to cook as a way to get involved in the matter. Haruto praised the dish hand. This prompted Yuko to share her culinary preparations with him. Tina praised Yuko's efforts and welcomed her as a new member of the family. A few days later, Tina informed the class about the upcoming fight with the 7th graders in 3 days. When it became known that there was no fighting spirit in the class, one thing shocked them. They planned a clash against much older seniors. Luna, filled with nerves, asked if they were capable of it. While Tina-sensei assured them that despite the opponents being 7th graders, it would be a one-on-one knockout fight and each team had 5 participants, she was confident in her students' abilities. She revealed the team composition for the team fight. On one side, Stan, Lifa, Ryushin, Melody, Rook, and Harutathi face off against the bullies who targeted Luna on the first day of school. Tension hung in the room when Baron Zordi's son asked why the freshmen occupied such a luxurious auditorium and began interrogating Haruto about how he uses his family's connections. The opponents recognized Haruto, Ruka, and Luna. They were the same ones they had bullied before. It pushed Haruto to think that they came to take revenge. Because magic was not used, our heroes could not assess their strength and realized they were at a disadvantage. Luna trembled with fear as she looked into the faces of her opponents, and because of this, the other girls noticed her and asked if she was okay. Melody's face turned pale as soon as Lee approached and directly asked Luna what had happened. Eventually, they found a secluded place where Luna, during the entrance ceremony, told about the incident, emphasizing how Haruto and Ruck came to her aid. Despite Lee's concern for Luna's condition, who asked not to delay medical assistance if needed, Luna insisted that she would stay and gathered everyone together, encouraging each one. Suddenly, they heard someone calling Lifa Vanguard, asking if she was a fairy while the boys continued teasing her. Lifa looked the challenge straight in the face, making sure there were bullies among them. When a loud voice announced the front row of both classes and ordered them to go to the contest stage, Lifa called out to Luna. Luna noticed that other girls showed interest in their restaurant after the visit a few days ago. Holding mana in her hands, Lee ordered Luna to watch the match closely. They planned to celebrate the victory there after the game. The arena began to fill with spectators, and even the deer involuntarily stopped to look. Melody, as predicted, promised the audience a spectacular duel. Despite initial fears that they would have to compete against stronger opponents, Melody was confident they would be able to win, even leaving themselves a reserve. And after their quarrel with Tina-sensei, the senior students no longer had any chance against them. She could not understand why they underestimated them just because they were 7th graders. In her opinion, they might have some extraordinary magic. Haruto agreed and decided it was best to treat them with high expectations, even if they started from a low level. Lifa decided to follow the fortress's advice and proceed cautiously. She announced that she would defeat one of them. Haruto encouraged her when she entered the ring. The senior students were too arrogant and told Lifa to attack first. She couldn't believe they would give up so quickly. It also showed how much they underestimated her. Lifa became serious and unleashed a strong wind around herself. Meanwhile, Haruto's attention shifted to the spectator seats. There he sensed Yuko. He saw Mai standing on the fence analyzing the fight. Mai noticed that their opponents lacked intelligence, especially the group leader. She forgave Lifa so much time to accumulate magical power. Suddenly, a gust of wind knocked Mai off her feet. As soon as she touched the ground, Haruto managed to catch her in his arms. He was struck by how light she was, and he didn't understand why. Mai looked at him with a flushed face and called out. Without taking her eyes off him, she waited until her twins pulled her back and stepped between them. Mai suddenly realized when she tried to explain that it was all just a misunderstanding and that he actually saved her, but Mai became increasingly worried. Because she accidentally called him Haruto before thanking him and warned him not to get too deeply involved. Because of this, Haruto remained confused as they returned to the fight. Meanwhile, Lifa managed to gather an incredible amount of mana, and her opponent froze in disbelief. Luna encouraged her while her rival Leah decided to use her magic and activate a barrier arrow just like Lifa did. Unfortunately, she didn't manage to see quickly enough how Lifa's technique easily pierced that barrier and made it explode. Now the main thing Lifa feared was that her magic would spread in all directions right onto the defenseless rival. The match ended with their classmates bursting into applause, but Lifa remained confused about the whole situation. She froze in place and asked Tina-sensei for guidance. Suddenly, Tina smiled proudly and loudly announced that Lifa had completely defeated the opponent. She boasted about how she had to maintain the barrier the whole time while the class was fighting the gargoyle. She even boasted about it in front of the opponent's teacher. The gray, bald man said in surprise that the instructor's magic wall could not stop Lifa's magic. He refused to accept defeat and insisted that Lifa's attack happened offstage, so it violated the rules. The judge explained magic from outside breaks the rules, but the opposite does not. No one expected that the magic of one of the participants would break the teacher's barrier. He also said that if all the 7th grade students turn out to be incapable, then it will automatically become a victory in the first year, where they will hear everything that annoys the other teachers and Tina will only snarl at the end. Another teacher explained to the judge that the 4 students who fainted were not participants, they were just cheering. The judge tried to say something, but the instructor called one of the spectators named Edgar. Edgar buried his face in the book and lazily sprawled in someone's lap until he heard the teacher's call. He asked the elderly man if he should sit here when, supposedly, the opposing team's secret Edgar ace was already hidden. He had no choice but to leave, but before that, he handed the book to the girl on whose cheek he had once slept and asked what had just happened in the first match. She briefly told about the fight and how Lifa managed to defeat 4 more outside the arena and earned praise from Edgar. The dark-haired girl also said that their team asked to continue the clash with an exchange of fighter sand. The first team easily agreed. Hearing all this, Edgar said that their teachers were complete nonsense and asked if he would be all right because he had overslept until late last night. Edgar replied that he was sleepy but could do nothing about it. Meanwhile, on the side of the newcomer, praise her for doing her job well and showing incredible magic, just after asking if she can step back so Ryu-shin can step in. Lifa agreed, feeling incredible joy, so Tina-sensei praised her while Ryu-shin in his unique style encouraged his sister. Holding her hand, he told her, even if she dies, she will still win because he will bring her back to life. Ryu-shin could only agree with his eccentric sister, but at the same time felt that her words put some pressure on him. Tina shifted her gaze to the opposing team and knew Edgar was a reliable partner for Ryu-shin who excelled in close combat, although his sudden appearance was not part of her plans. Both participants stepped onto the stage. The only difference was one yawned and the other, an energetic Russian, declared that he would also finish this match spectacularly, like Lifa. While Edgar asked if he was a dragonoid, Ryosha eagerly answered, yes, even boasting about how strong he was, but Edgar was not affected by this. Not at all, he didn't even want to fight someone like him, but there was no choice. He resembled Shikamaru from another universe. Meanwhile, in the spectator area, one student called out to another Rain. He rushed to them and reminded them that they still had a lot of work. His voice was so loud that a long-haired girl turned around and declared that they were the reason she was sitting late. 1-month deadline was the main reason why Rain was so busy. Because she was the head of the student council, who had sworn to submit all her work on time at the arena. Edgar remembered that only that amazing Russian man could defeat him. But he didn't dwell on this for long. The commentator had already signaled the start of the fight. Without any hesitation, he released his dragon morph and told Edgar that he didn't quite understand his thought. But now, for the Russian, the main thing was different, to show the class his cool moves. While Edgar remained calm, ribbons swirling around him, Rihin rushed straight at him and insisted that he was the one who should decide. His attack failed as if there was an invisible barrier between them. While others praised Ryu-shin for incredible speed and strength, Edgar pointed out his numerous gaps after performing techniques. With a quick strike, a hardened hand, he released a whole series of ribbon-like objects and forced Ryu-shin to step back and fall. Edgar noted that dragonoids were a powerful race, so it was better not to hold back from the start. Ryu-shin was eliminated, Edgar was declared the winner, and his sister anxiously called to him. The referee suggested that Ryuka accompany them and provide healing magic. She couldn't hold back and scolded her brother for carelessness, but Haruto quickly corrected her. He said that Ryu was not careless, just that his opponent was really strong. Hearing this, Ryuka flashed a smile and promised to thank Ryu-shin as soon as he woke up. Tina nodded, agreeing with Haruto's words, and added that Edgar is not only one of the best students in the school but also shows excellent results in his studies. Haruto, responsible in the school council, turned to Melody and asked if she could handle Edgar. After a short pause, she agreed. He noticed her speed, but what worried him most was her charm that attracted glances. Luna was suddenly taken aback when Melody predicted her moves. And Tina suggested Luna ask the teacher if he was serious. Exactly as the commentator requested, the third participant from the first year must prepare. Tina believed if Luna increases the speed, Melody will have no chance to use her magical magic. The moon stood at the edge of the stage ready to enhance Melody's abilities. When Haruto asked if supportive magic could penetrate the fortress barrier from the opponent's side and whether it was allowed during the duel, Tina-sensei clarified, in a class duel it would be unfair to limit only the fighters themselves, so students from the same group could support with magic. Meanwhile, Luna was weighing the strength of each and the consequences of her support. She admitted Edgar is incredibly strong, circumstances just pushed him, and she decided to strengthen Melody by using all her power. The sudden burst of energy caught Melody off guard. The force surged through her body, stronger than ever. It seems she is counting on this, Luna thought. Edgar looked over the first-year team, and describing Dragonoid as a beast girl with a unique charm ability only made him more irritated. These descriptions made him even more eager to return home and finally rest. He could not help but wonder why the young gentleman was so concerned about their class until Melody shouted at him, promising to avenge the defeat by Russian. Edgar laughed and said that they were the ones who first destroyed their representatives. But the laughter stopped and he turned to the roadside when he asked if they also use support magic from behind. His comrade used his magic to cover him just like their teacher who hid it behind a book. A previous member of the student council asked Rain if he had also seen that dirty trick before, which he confirmed. The head of the student council said it was the most unpleasant thing. Edgar was supported by the magic of help from that man. While the dark-haired girl was throwing a comment that the fight was already over after all the teachers were suspended from participating in the class competition, even despite the support of magic. Melody shifted her gaze to Luna's support and thought how incredible it was. Meanwhile, the commentator announced that the fight had begun. She felt the power rising in her body like a wave as her movements and speed increased along with Luna's efforts. Melody told herself that she had to live up to her creator's expectations. With that, she planned to start with a bang. She struck the floor with her palms, pressing her hands harder. Melody sprang upward and launched a flying kick at Edgar. She managed to land several hits, but the senior student was able to block every single one. When Edgar slipped and lost his balance, he fell off the stage. Melody was confused when he suddenly appeared beside her again and commented on how dangerous her attack had been. His movements irritated her as soon as she realized Edgar not only resorts to bait magic but also knows how to read people, but Melody hoped she could throw him off balance using her left hand. She quickly struck him with her left fist and the barrier cracked and shattered again. Melody was furious. Her attack missed and hit the ground directly. Gritting her teeth, she confronted Edgar and asked if they were really going to fight. Edgar quickly glanced aside and stood in front of the teacher, showing that he also had support magic. Thanks to this, he was rising much faster. The older man was already about to stop him, but Edgar threw mocking words at Melody and challenged her. At least hit him once. Driven into rage, Melody launched a jumping kick at him with momentum, but instead of hitting Edgar, she accidentally hit the instructor and he flew away. Edgar appeared next to her. He said, commenting on how painful it must have been for their instructor. Melody couldn't believe she had fallen for another bait again. Edgar suddenly started praising her and insisted that she was strong enough to be with him. He had already accepted that he would lose if everything continued the same way, and then suddenly announced that he would surrender. Raising both hands, he repeated his words and admitted defeat. Edgar explained that he had run out of energy. All his mana and stamina were immediately wiped out. He couldn't continue and said this with a shy look. The judge clarified if this meant an official withdrawal from the match, and Edgar confirmed that it did. He couldn't live with himself if he won by cheating. In the spectator area, Connie was called by the downpour, and the referee announced that there were no more students who could fight for the 7th class. With a whistle, the fight ended. And Rina-sensei's class was declared the winner. The audience and the new class of students couldn't believe their luck just as Edgar left the stage. Melody approached him, asking why he had conceded, but he did not give her a direct answer. Instead, he apologized for not playing until the very end, although he admitted that he had fun. This left a bitter taste in Melody's mouth. While Tina apologized to Fortress and Haruto for not having the chance to show herself, Fortress assured her there was no need to worry, and Haruto emphasized that the most important thing for them was the class victory. Ruck said that even if he got the chance to fight, he was not sure if he could defeat Edward. He asked Haruto if he felt the same way. Our hero replied if it was his turn, he would try a few magical spells but still wasn't sure. Because of this, Ruck clicked his tongue towards the opposing team. In the dormitory of Ifrit Magic Academy, Luna encountered an unexpected dead end during her game. Despite the fight being in full swing, the board became completely white, something Luna had never seen before. Melody confessed that such a result happens rarely, and in that unexpected way confirmed Luna's victory in such a strange case. To stop and not lose again, Melody demanded a rematch, and the fire of serious, competitive play flared up in her again. Later, Luna admitted that she played seriously as she was asked, but now regretted not holding back a little. Haruto carefully calmed Melody, easing her irritation, and Luna quietly thanked him with a soft smile. Besides games, Luna effortlessly handled difficult magical questions during daily lectures. Watching the class, Haruto wondered how unusually talented his classmates were, especially Luna. Elsewhere, the student council was discussing how strange the freshman group looked based on recent observations and events. Their conversation exposed Luna's classmates, the Beast Girl with magically enhanced strength, the Genius Elf, and Haruto himself. In the council hall, teachers discussed rare draconoids and noted the growing list of geniuses in their class. Tina Harabil's class, already known, became more interesting with each new report about unusual students. Hanani was assigned to conduct an additional investigation, while Tina prepared donations to support the local orphanage. Suddenly, a confident girl clung to Haruto, revealing herself as a demon named Yuko. She confirmed her status, loyal servant of Haruto, a powerful level 99 demon under contract. Yuko revealed that her magic was zombification. She could instantly subjugate anyone with a lower level. While others remained calm, Haruto was shocked. He learned that Resin and Edgar had reached incredible heights. Elfin admitted her level was 80, and it seemed she was already under Yuko's influence. Two classmates revealed themselves as level 60, which almost matched Luna's current magic level. Melody shared her level 52 and froze in surprise while also feeling nervous among so many strong opponents. Luna was comforted by her classmates. They reminded her how valuable her healing contributions were. With a satisfied smile, she responded to the support. Luna smiled brightly, and Haruto quietly stood behind, still marked as level 1. As the conversations continued, Haruto felt trapped, unsure if he would have to reveal level 2. He finally decided to stop hiding the truth, preparing to expose his level and curse. With firm determination, Haruto raised his voice, intending to honestly confess the truth about his current level. Just as Haruto was about to reveal his status, Edgar unexpectedly asked him not to show it. Edgar admitted Haruto exceeded his expectations and saw in him the one Tina had trained, even stronger than the family. Due to concern, Edgar confessed that he felt Haruto's level could deeply impact his self-esteem or confidence. Stunned, Haruto insisted they misunderstood him, but his level remained at 1 for an unknown reason. Absorbed and embarrassed, everyone agreed not to look. Even Haruto accepted that for some time he needed to hide his status. Freshmen arrived at Higani Forest. They were given a rare permission to train where usually upperclassmen practice. Luna hesitated. She feared she could only support, while others began suggesting forming pair alliances. Team selection began. Edgar chose Luna, and Elfin teamed up with Ryuka. Several others quickly joined. They stayed together, two twin sisters. Yuko did not let go of Haruto, and finally teams were formed everywhere. When everyone was in place and ready, the instructor raised her hand, announcing the start of forest training. Hina reminded the class to avoid injuries and issued emergency whistles as a precaution. Each student was given a magical bracelet that counted and recorded the rank of defeated monsters. Nearby, the teacher heard their excitement and confirmed the goal to feed as many monsters as possible. Surprised by their enthusiasm, she admitted the contest was exactly what she had hoped for when she decided to start it. Although no levels were gained, the main goals for today were teamwork and tactical progress. With a slap and a clear command, the training began. The students rushed forward to engage in battle with the monsters. Cut off from her allies, Yuko asked her master how to act in the face of the looming threat of the arriving monster. The group discussed brainwashing strategies but did not know if it was possible to tame intelligent monsters with Yuko's magic. Confidently, the boy stepped forward, raised a twisting spell, and promised to take everything upon himself. Several fireballs surrounded him mid-flight. The form, beauty, and precise control of magic impressed Yuko. Combining elemental cores, he transformed the fire into a beast, a magical galloping flaming horse. Seeing the transformation, Yuko suddenly and loudly groaned. She was shaken by the shock of what the enchanted spells had turned into. An armored figure of a centaur appeared. Lightning crackled and the wind magic, merging with it, turned into a weapon and enveloped the body. His form stabilized. The boy confidently announced the completion. Fire Lance Special Edition was ready. Yuko guessed it resembled the legendary Flame Knight, although she awkwardly denied her magical classification. He sent both creatures into battle, and Yuko was worried that she would use elite magic too recklessly. Yuko gently offered to share the magic, not even suspecting that during the lesson they were still being closely watched. A sharp voice frightened her. The teacher caught everything and immediately reminded them of the rules. Tina appeared and warned the students. Indecent behavior would affect their grades because magical bracelets connected to academic results were monitoring them. She threatened to cancel Yuko's dinner if she did not obey and remove the magical tracker. In despair, Yuko lamented the harsh punishment, fearing she would miss Tina's legendary homemade dishes. The girl quietly sympathized with her friend, watching him try to digest Haruto's casual charm. They hinted about her feelings for Haruto and she suddenly got scared, realizing that her emotions were too obvious. He gently calmed her and gratefully saw that she approached and remembered his help during the entrance. She smiled gently, recalling Haruto's words, and decided to thank him with a sincere gift made of chocolate. Their peaceful moments were broken. A lone wolf appeared nearby, and despite the absence of known threats, they had to be cautious. They realized wolves were class copies that gave no experience, but something still did not add up. Feeling the danger, the girl quickly warned Rook, sharply increasing his speed before the wolf could attack. When her magic is active, the wolf's movements sharply slow down and unnatural aggression and behavior resembling construction emerge. Rukavjord blocked the heavy blow and called Luna to prepare magic. The wolves were not ordinary enemies. A powerful explosion burst through the clearing, shaking the trees and disturbing the birds, pushing them into the open sky. After the tornado strike, Rook and Luna watched the dust settle and decided the threat had passed. And suddenly, glowing eyes appeared deep in the forest. More and more creatures approached from the shadows. Magic-resistant bison monsters appeared in a whole swarm, tearing apart the forest order and raising serious tactical alarms. Other students joined in. Melody Leafa rushed forward while Leafa prepared a powerful, coordinated magical attack. The combo worked. Leafa's explosion hit thanks to the distraction from Melody. The team celebrated their coordination. Surrounded by aggressive forest creatures, the two assessed the numerous enemies without panic and without any hesitation. Shadowy bat-like monsters quickly swooped down on them, merging into a chaotic swarm already thrashing on the ground. With a furious roar, the dark-haired fighter charged forward, crushing scorpions with brutal force. His strike threw a giant insect against a stone and instantly crushed its armored body on the first impact. While one joked about frying a scorpion, the other disapproved and kept fixating on that terrible plan which he didn't even worry about. Standing on the fallen enemies, she dryly recalled the endless battle in their all-too-captivating class. She teased Raskin about his success, and he blushed again with shame and annoyance. Somewhere nearby, May froze in place. Her hair rustled in the wind as she sensed something disturbing nearby. May noticed that her sister was nervous and quietly asked. It was hard for her to explain exactly what she was feeling. I compared the strange feeling to an Ifrit, an aura, not monsters, but something much more familiar. I felt something stronger than Ifrit and aura that should not exist in this peaceful space. Tina carefully monitored the combat data, noticing that the monsters' movements were unnatural and strangely synchronized. She suspected external interference and wondered if outside monsters had penetrated their class field. A pack of wolves approached again, fixing their gaze on Mai, and Mai responded, against the backdrop of the forest's silence. One wolf raised its head and, spotting a strange magical symbol, saw it hanging far above the sky. Hovering above the trees, she felt a familiar magic stretching from below from the depths of the dense forest. Or deciding so, she swiftly descended, confident. These echoes belonged to someone powerful hidden somewhere in the forest. The celestial priestess felt that something had gone wrong. His power continued to grow despite the divine curse placed upon him. God admitted that he had used boundless mana to rebirth himself, and while sowing the curse, intended to weaken him. Trembling from failure, the god ordered Shikigami to retrieve an even deadlier curse from the Forbidden Archive. Despite the evil origins, all summoned beings, even the cursed, were destined to become heroes of this world. The portable Shikigami search scroll unfolds descriptions of eternal weakness. He cannot grow, die, or escape the frozen, cursed fate. Instead of searching manually, she summoned dozens of spirits to instantly divide the work by shelves. Books scattered right in the air, her clones whirl the pages. Unable to keep up, they are overwhelmed by the boundless curse stream from gods. One book stood aside, marked by the magic of petrification, but the demon lord initially doubted its effectiveness. Shikigami opened the hidden archive, recalling that the level 1 safe curse was still untested and rare. Their joy grew as they imagined the despair of the victims, the very same that covers the moment of realization of eternal weakness with no path to growth. At first, the curse was supposed to restrain the growth of power, but unexpectedly it froze Hashirito at his lowest levels. After the ceremony, the evil god fell asleep without mana and completely unconscious. Despite magical tracking attempts, the Shikigami could not find Hashirito, and this caused fear that he might already be dead. Finally, her orb flared with magic. Hashirito's aura was faintly and remotely outlined from the distant forest. Meanwhile, because the monsters caused a massacre, classes were cancelled right on the street. Students gathered restlessly near the edge of the forest. The knight warned everyone to retreat, preparing to unleash high-level spells against the invisible threat. Before rushing into casting, she noticed a mysterious girl standing calmly, and behind her a strange boy. Sensing something wrong, she cautiously approached and realized that the surrounding monsters were unnaturally controlled by someone. The Shikigami identified the intruder as connected to the devil god, a dangerous entity that must be destroyed. Without hesitation, the knight charged forward, accusing her of inciting the monsters and threatening the peace of the forest. The knight rushed forward, shouting that he intended to destroy the alleged threat, ignoring any explanations. After her attack, a gigantic explosion erupted. It wiped off the face of the earth, the place where Shikigami had stood a moment ago. When the smoke cleared, it became clear the explosion did not go off. Tina looked confused, and Shikigami was completely unharmed. Amid the smoke, Shikigami emerged again with minor injuries, shocked but still standing. Tina realized that restraint was futile and summoned enhanced magical circles, preparing to sharply increase the destructive scale of the battle. Tina voiced the name of the spell and unleashed Thor's hammer, a powerful divine strike, without any hesitation. In the air, it caught him by surprise. Shikigami was restrained and forcefully thrown down while he wondered what could have caused such a wild misunderstanding. Above the forest, Tina calmly hovered, satisfied because the magical chains had locked the enemy below. Although Shikigami was still holding in the air, she wondered, could her divine presence alone disrupt the natural balance of the forest? Before retreating, she was struck by a giant magical arrow. Tina's last spell exploded upward. While preparing to defend, Shikigami suddenly felt Tina's energy sharply approaching from behind. She panicked right in the air, wondering if her proximity to the evil god had provoked these bloody attacks. The escalation could invite divine exposure. She feared that the creator god would intervene if the chaos continued any longer. Seeing Haruto from afar, Shikigami realized, perhaps he was the key to surviving here unnoticed. With a barely noticeable smile, she whispered near Tina, quietly releasing the tension from herself. Shikigami offered an amulet, asking Tina to protect Haruto before disappearing with a mysterious smile. Without warning, a powerful explosion erupted behind Tina, and she was thrown to the side while in the air. She was suddenly grabbed from behind. The claws of a monster clung to her with a death grip. A disguised monster pulled her down. She struggled, realizing that the collision with the ground was imminent. Below, a student screams Tina's name in despair, helplessly watching her fall from the sky. Haruto turned to the chaos and recognized Tina's falling figure. The monster was dragging her down. Now, accelerating in the air, the senior warrior struck the monster in the face, intercepting its grip before it could hit. Rage blazed in his eyes. He declared war on the monster and broke the tension of the scene. A sudden airstrike from above caught the instructor by surprise. He was forced to fend off the attack, silently dismantling his opponent. Realizing the target was the teacher, Lifa rushed forward as chaos unfolded during the training. Without warning, the student jumped from above and sharply lunged forward to intercept the fall. Jumping off the ground, she positions herself directly under the falling girl. Only seconds remain to catch her. With precise reflexes, she catches the student mid-flight, absorbing his momentum and both, safely flipping over, land. Professor Tina falls without warning, and panic instantly sweeps through the auditorium as the students realize she is suffering from more than just exhaustion. A hand gently presses and supports her while others gather together, sensing something far grimmer than an ordinary injury. She She warns too late her enemy's weapon has already been coated with a fast-acting, invisible poison. The black claws of the fallen enemy twitched, poisonous magic oozed from his body, explaining why she suddenly collapsed and fell. Luna casts quick supportive spells, layering buffs and shields, giving Risshin the chance to counterattack without hesitation. Risshin carefully plans his next strike, calculating the monster's weak spots and simultaneously preparing backup combat options. Tina wakes up wounded and ashamed of her condition, but she is reminded her presence still matters. Despite her own doubts, Risshin defended others' faith in her strength even against senior students of Edgar's caliber. Impressed by the support, Tina smiles, surprised that Dragonoid is even capable of accepting such sincere respect from humans. With courage reignited, Risshin tears through the dragon claw, deciding to fight, despite facing a power that surpasses him. A sudden shockwave cuts through the battlefield, forcing the students to gather under the magical barrier. Watching cautiously, she recognizes the raw draconoid power of Risshin and realizes his opponent has not yet shown everything. Despite Luna's support, Risshin's mana rapidly depletes. Retreat becomes urgent, as enemy reinforcements roll toward them like a wave. The warning comes too late. Risshin suddenly catches the approach of the threat. While Risshin holds the position, the others evacuate, carrying Tina, and magical forces explode across the canyon. Students exchanged nervous glances and understood that the situation was far more serious than they expected. With a voice as firm as stone, she confirms that this is indeed the creature, and the creature's claw is already digging into the earth. Like a vile demon breaking through, gigantic, masked, and chained, its threat instantly becomes recognizable to all who watch. In a flash of magic, the sandbone chains explode and momentarily bind the movement of the monster in the mask. The comrade is bound, but the demon's power grows and dangerously presses on, forcing others to shout at the top of their lungs, demanding Risshin's retreat. He steps forward, his body hardened by dragon morph, ready to hold back the enemy, despite the growing danger. From afar, two girls silently observe. They do not intervene while the battle unfolds below. The spirit of the White Wolf feels doubts, and if Haruto fails this simple task, her abilities may be called into question. Seeing the truth, she hesitates. Her contract is worth nothing if he proves unworthy. She quietly approached, folding her hands, and still called him Haruto. Her loyalty was unwavering and steadfast. Since he destroyed the training grounds, the academy kept as far away from him as possible. Enchanted by his incredible mana, she dreamed of making a contract with Haruto herself. Despite the cold attitude, she recognized his rare power, especially the fox spirit that was nearby. With a single gesture, Haruto summoned mighty flames, proving that his power surpassed what anyone could imagine. Captivated by the very idea of the oath, Mei believed she could become truly powerful. More experienced reminded her, true contracts have weight, not just dreams of power. Quietly placing her hands on my shoulders, she clarified her intentions with honest care. Memories. Although as an older sister I can be proud of Mai, watching her find her own path is both sweet and bitter. At first she was not sure, but quickly realized they cannot retreat while others stand before the looming threat. With renewed determination, Mei responded briskly, ready to act while her bound wolves sensed movement. The wolves growled sharply. She felt a huge magical presence approaching her, and the power was growing. Without mastery of flame control, she immediately recognized the terrible aura steadily and inevitably approaching their group. Slipping out of the firestorm, night enveloped everything in solid flames. Mai froze in awe, stunned admiration. Mystic. The mysterious figure vanished in a flash of light. Mai recognized the signature of rare summoning magic from. Without hesitation, she grabbed Mei's hand and pushed to investigate the strange magical event together, convinced that once it was Haruto's spell. Mai ran forward and decisively rushed to offer him a contract. Mei secretly dreamed that Haruto could also control water magic to stay beside her sister forever. Yet in truth, it was she who could not let go of their bond. Suddenly, Russell broke the silence. A furious attacker charged forward at full speed straight at the Russian. The Russian stared in surprise at his hand, stunned. The dragon scales on the skin were indeed damaged. The masked enemy struck again so fast that even the Russians could not track his wild movements. His hand jerked upward, cleanly severed, leaving only blood spreading in a scaly streak. Meanwhile, wounded but composed, the Russian pulled back the stand and retreated, while his comrades panicked, shouting his name. Russia clenched its jaws. The poison that spilled from the wound shocked his nearby allies and silenced them. Without hesitation, Ruck cast a light spell, glancing at Haruto as if silently asking for permission. He flicked the light whip upward, catching the Russian in midair to stop his fall. Seeing their limits, the group begged Haruto to act before the fiends completely overwhelmed them. As the urgency grew, Ruck ordered Haruto to fight, reminding him everyone's fate now depended on his hidden power. The masked villain activated a dark summoning circle, its energy pulsing beneath clawed feet. With a burst of power, he shattered the ground and prepared to strike with monstrous fury. While distracted by the battlefield, he might lose sight of the fiery horse and the magic. The summoned knight finally arrived, flames swirling around his armor as he charged into battle. Without hesitation, the fiery knight struck the demon with a blow that knocked him off his feet, stunning him with incredible force. Another knight stepped onto the battlefield, and the allies did not know whether it was friend or foe. Wasting not a second, the knight's blazing axe struck the demon, hitting directly in its monstrous chest. When the broken roots scattered, Haruto confirmed its death, but something still remained fatally unresolved. New tentacles burst from the creature's torso, twisting and pulling its body forward. It was regenerating faster than anyone expected. Understanding the truth, they concluded complete destruction was necessary, magic strong enough to erase the core entirely. Hina fainted from exhaustion while her students surveyed the battlefield and stayed close, supporting her recovery. Yuko gathered her strength and showed that she had accumulated energy, using only 2 tails. Having spoken the oath of loyalty, she prepared to release huge reserves of mana to support the summoned spells from her lore. She unfolded a mighty shield, giving shelter to all and at the same time placing full responsibility on her chosen master. When the barrier was completed, Yuko gave her blessing and Garudo could finally release everything without restrictions. Tina explained that only one of her magics could overcome the threat, even despite the resistance of the unclean to Haruto's ordinary spells. The power of the unclean equaled that of entire states, growing faster each time. Its existence posed a catastrophic threat if not stopped, to the limit. To destroy the monster, they needed an ultra-powerful heat one that would completely burn its regenerative core. Under her pleas, Haruto was forced to release his true power and protect everyone. Flames swirled around him and he swore never to fail again, channeling 30 of his power. Haruto released a sharpened fiery spear, aiming precisely at the monster's regenerating core. To reach the sealed evil god, she swiftly descended to the sanctuary hidden in solitude. Arriving at the empty ruined sanctuary, she resumed her duties in cold silence and loneliness. As she walked over cracked tiles, she reviewed calculations for the energy flow and future improvements of the demon lord. Before the throne, she acknowledged that the burden of managing divine affairs rested on her alone, without help and without rest. With bitterness in her soul, she admired how the evil god endlessly absorbed power and yet did absolutely nothing. A strange magical scroll crumbled in her hands, releasing energy she had no intention of unleashing. Caught up hastily in her own zeal, she suddenly realized she had accidentally activated a dangerous forbidden spell. Somewhere else, a young man released powerful magic and with relief confirmed that his previous decision was correct. His spell collided with the appearance of a monster, trying to protect an unknown figure inside the explosion. On the ruined battlefield, he felt a still-present power, proof that someone mighty had already stood here before him. Although the creature was destroyed, its dying breath scorched everything around. The fiery forest fire flared up and threatened everyone nearby. With roaring flames around, they fought to hold the protective barriers while urgently searching for a way out. The boy coordinated their efforts, combining smaller spells to tame the fire without exhausting his magical limit. Cursed by an evil god, he could not use spells exceeding 10 mana per one cast. To bypass the limitation, he formed thousands of mana clusters, embedding complex symbols into powerful formations. Bound by his curse, Haruto summoned the only one who could extinguish the spreading fire. In response appeared the water spirit Undine. Her presence was commanding, and at the same time gracefully overflowed the entire scene. Instantly recognizing Haruto, she greeted warmly, recalling their connection from 3 years ago. Undine disdainfully reproached him for neglecting their bond, while another girl awkwardly tried to intervene. Surprised by the acquaintance, others found out Undine had known Mei before. Since Mei lingered, trying to speak, still not ready to answer Undine's direct question. In the rush, Haruto interrupted the conversation and reminded everyone that extinguishing the spreading fire remained their top priority. Stunned by the truth, she agreed to help and realized that Haruto held a powerful spirit-consuming contract. The flame burst forward, the heat covered everything more intensely. The instructions were clear: splash water upwards, then stretch it with magic. Lefa raised her hands. Magical wind was gathering while Yuko struggled to hold the barrier. A powerful stream of water twisted and rushed upwards. Water rose into the sky, controlled by the spirit's power and the caster acting together. A gust of wind burst out in a fierce wave of rings, cutting through the hanging steam and dispersing water over the burning ground. No time to rest. Magic flowed again, eyes fixed, and the smoldering fire still fought to survive. The rain poured incessantly, but the resistance only grew stronger. The flame did not want to weaken, spreading faster despite the summoned elemental water. Encouragement came instantly. The twins focused, synchronized their breathing, and gathered shared mana for the spell. Magic flared between their bodies, coiled energy twisted outward as the icicle ballad entered the activation phase. Shards of sharp ice floated upward. Their bodies held course, steering direction as the temperature dropped sharply. Clouds filled with ice gained strength. Crystals multiplied, rising faster with each second of the focused channel directing energy. After the spell, it shattered. Her sister requested fire magic to activate the icy form of the sky. Understanding flashed quickly. He smiled, recalling his duty heat that needed rain. Water spells must continue. Instead of dividing attention, he summoned Ifrit the fire elemental to help warm the clouds. Ifrit appeared without delay. Reactions ranged from excitement to panic, and his arrival stunned the two spellcasters. A sudden revelation: Haruto's hidden contract with Ifrit revealed everything, confirming suspicions from their last meeting. Seeing Ifrit up close, she was overwhelmed. Feelings choked her. The adoration that engulfed her redirected toward Haruto. Quietly listening, he could only occasionally acknowledge his sister's passion. Understanding was born as the rain thickened and heat flared inside. Hands joined, the tension hanging between them faded. Mei showed her devotion regardless of any cost or outcome. Not a second of hesitation remained. Mei confirmed her words and the rain echoed, emphasizing the weight and sincerity of the moment. Reactions diverged sharply. While Mei accepted the storm's presence, her sister grumbled she was wet and uncomfortable to the bone. Rain tapped on her face and her expression froze like an echo of silence, but the vow she made to Haruto remained unshaken inside. Returning to the academy, news of the attack surfaced and Impure appeared in the forest. Anxiety overwhelmed the leaders. The academy did not feel the threat first, although in the early years they managed on their own. Reports confirmed that the targeted class was attacked. It turned out that the Grutina Horrible group got involved during active training operations. There are no reports of casualties. Tina defeated the monster, but suspicions surrounded her actions. The first reports turned out to be inaccurate. The investigation showed the decisive blow was not dealt by her, but by someone else. Natina. Haruto's identity was confirmed. The recognition spread instantly. He was the son of Silver Lake Count with a strange history. Worried about his influence, the teachers called a meeting. Immediately after, Haruto was summoned for interrogation. In the director's office, Haruto met an elderly man who sighed with relief. Tina is safe now. Friendly words were spoken and the elder opened a connection. Haruto had already earned his grandson's respect. Rook's natural talent remained undisclosed, but Haruto's appearance awakened true efforts in him and magical progress became visible to the naked eye. They exchanged handshakes followed by gratitude. The elder immediately sensed something was wrong. Haruto's magical reserves were extremely depleted. Surprise was reflected on his face. His skill level looked just like that of a simple first-level novice. Tina took a step forward. While she defended the value of Haruto, Haruto quietly acknowledged the obvious truth without objections and without hysteria. The confession sounded calmly, and Haruto accepted the consequences of the exposure. The director apologized, admitting that he had gone too far when he overstepped. Before revealing anything further, Haruto asked the director to keep his next words absolutely secret. Permission was obtained. The director agreed to his condition, and Tina was also invited to listen. In a calm voice, Haruto activated the status panel and before him opened a shocking truth. Level 1. Tina reacted instantly. Distrust froze on her face. She was puzzled by the obvious discrepancy, which was then confirmed by Haruto's achievements. His magical limitation made sense. Low-level spells were all he ever reached. A rare curse appeared in his status. Haruto revealed everything. During the transformation, he was cursed by an evil god and he got stuck at the first level. Tina explained the existence of the evil god, showed that he revived the Demon King and spread despair. Haruto suspected a divine mistake. The killing of the unclean contradicted his cursed, completely inactive fate. To demonstrate, Haruto led them outside and ordered the others to monitor his current mana level. He cast Firelens easily despite low stats. His magic exploded with unusual, devastating power. Fear overwhelmed them, but his mana did not decrease. Haruto confirmed, the energy remained limitless, eternally untouched, untouchable. Hiroto suggested that the curse did not limit his form, perhaps the god had set him up incorrectly altogether. Even with endless mana, they doubted his combat strength. How would he defeat powerful monsters? Without hesitation, he calmly showed everyone how he directed a focused shockwave of energy. Quickly casting low-level spells and combining elements, Haruto sharply increased their destructive potential. They were stunned. He released 50,000 fire spears and effortlessly destroyed the entire installation. Tina reassured them she was unharmed. The stone had simply absorbed the power of the magical explosion. The professor acknowledged Haruto's origin and his anomalous power, though mysterious. Now everything was finally completely clear. With a smile, Haruto promised to keep his power under control and act moderately during training. Returning to Tina, he learned that the director would support him first and foremost to protect the entire school. Haruto nervously laughed, scratched the back of his head, and quietly vowed not to destroy anything else by accident. Tina quietly apologized, shrinking with shame for missing Haruto's pain, even though she was always nearby. Tears welled up in her eyes as she confessed her regret, tormented by the fact that she never noticed his curse. Haruto gently reassured her, all these difficulties are manageable as long as her guidance and constant presence remain close. Thanks to her instructions, he mastered the fusion of spells and quick casting, thwarting the curse's intent. With gratitude, he asked for her continued support. Filled with joy, Tina gladly accepted. It was clearly visible from afar. Others watched with interest. The closeness of Tina and Haruto did not go unnoticed among the students.